There are 1 billion people around the world without access to electricity. What if we could end this by unleashing the power of women? Then we could turn energy from this life-threatening struggle into a life-changing opportunity. So, where do we start? Darkness. The lights are out, but it's not completely dark in here. Think about the last time that you were in total darkness. Maybe the power went out during a bad thunderstorm, so you lit a few candles. Actually, it was kind of romantic. But what if it were like this every night? More than just basic survival, like no light, no heat, no refrigeration. What about social survival? Imagine if you couldn't watch TV or even read before bed. What if you couldn't Google anything? When the sun sets, your day is over. That's the reality for over 1 billion people around the world who don't have access to electricity. Plus, there's about 1 billion more people who have unreliable access because their power grid looks like this. Nepal, one of the poorest countries in the world, everyone's energy poor. 60% of the population will probably never get connected to the electric grid. The rest suffer through daily blackouts that last up to 18 hours. 70% of the world's energy poor are women, who are left dreaming in the dark of a better life. In Nepal, women are their household's energy managers. They walk miles to buy kerosene or spend up to 8 hours of their day collecting firewood and then lugging it back home. Kerosene isn't cheap. In fact, it's incredibly expensive, and it provides poor quality light. As a result, the world's poor pay over 20% of the global lighting bill, yet enjoy only 2% of the light. This is energy poverty. A typical Nepali kitchen with a traditional smoky wood stove lit only by the flicker of this kerosene lamp. This is Runa's kitchen. Runa is a single parent struggling to provide for her 3 school-age children in a small village in eastern Nepal. And as you can see, it's impossible for Runa to cook dinner and her children to do their homework at the same time. But what you can't see is the toxic fumes this lamp emits. Over 1 million women and children die every year from respiratory illnesses caused by breathing in kerosene smoke. Breathing in kerosene is as harmful to your lungs as if you smoke 2 packs of cigarettes every day. In Nepal, women are denied an education. They get married as young as 15, and they can't own property. Worst of all, girls are often sold into prostitution. Nepal is a major source of human trafficking. About 7 years ago, I was working with victims of human trafficking, and I was realizing that over half the world's workforce was being underutilized and undervalued. For every victim saved, there were millions more just waiting to take her place because the poverty that forced people to sell their children or take these incredible risks for a job was still there. Meanwhile, my husband Bennett was working in this emerging field of alternative energy, and we joked that just like Captain Planet, with our powers combined, we could address the issues faced by women and the environment. We had an idea. What if we could empower women to literally power their communities? So a few years ago, we set off around the world to learn about the barriers to ending poverty that the current aid-based models were failing to overcome. We saw women's shelters struggling to keep their doors open and improved cook stoves that had been given to a family for free being used as an herb pot or an extra chair. It was clear that solar was cost competitive with kerosene and that there was major market potential for clean energy in the developing world. So why wasn't there a solar lamp in every home? Distribution and finance kept rising to the top. and local women seem to hold the keys to unlocking both. As their household energy managers, women feel the most pain from energy poverty. They also stand to gain the most from the transition to clean energy. We believe that rural women trained as energy entrepreneurs could form a robust distribution network. It was on this trip when I was in Chitwan, Nepal, when I first met my business partner, Sita Adhikari. Sita was the founder of a women's microfinance group, and her husband Basu was active in local environmental conservation efforts. Here was a couple just like me and Bennett who were working to make a difference for women and their environments. And during that meeting, Sita was telling me that she was really proud of the work that she'd done unpaid to help women in her community. But, she said, what I want to do next is bring solar power here. We all really need it, and I could use it to power a business employing women. We call that our solar light bulb moment. So I told Sita about my idea to help women start energy companies. I gave her my card and I wrote on the back, "I'll be in touch in 6 months." Sita didn't believe me. She'd heard this before from various foreigners, and these promises of support never came to anything. So she was shocked to hear from me just a few weeks later, telling her that Bennett and I had incorporated a company and we were putting together a crowd raiser to give our dreams a chance. That crowd raiser raised us $7,000. This was enough to get Sita training, conduct an energy assessment in Chitwan, and help her write her business plan. Bennett and I also started writing our business plan. None of us have our MBAs. Sita and I had never even worked for a for-profit company before. We had no idea what we were doing, but we all just kept pretending like we did, like good entrepreneurs do. So Sita became Empower Generation's pilot entrepreneur. We gave her a startup loan to buy 100 solar lamps and a motorbike to increase the reach of her business. We also started clean energy funds, offering loans for customers to overcome the upfront costs of switching from kerosene to solar. Remember, this whole pilot cost less than $7,000, so we could fail fast and learn cheap. Without realizing it, we were practicing the lean startup model of going to market with a simplified model that we could use to learn as much about our customers as possible. We had to prove that 1, selling clean energy at a market price to the poor will create energy access. 2, that women could succeed in a male-dominated industry. And 3, that the poor are valuable customers, not just helpless beneficiaries. We don't see a future where girls can only dream of selling handicrafts to make to tourists. Nor do we see a future in highly subsidized or free solar. Why not? Well, these approaches, they've already been tried and their success has been limited. Think give a man a fish versus teach him to fish. In this commercialized world that we live in, people just don't value free. So, our first order of solar lamps was on its way to Chitwan, and I was so nervous. I mean, would people actually buy these lights? Would Sita's business turn a profit? Not only did Sita and her sales agents start selling solar steadily, but at the manufacturer's suggested retail price. Customer stories were pouring in. Women had time to make handicrafts. Cyclers were strapping lights onto their bikes so they could travel home after dark. People were staying connected with their charged up mobiles. And my favorite, children were studying 3 hours each night, getting better grades, and staying in school. Women were taking out loans to buy clean energy, and Sita was using her capital to scale her business and expand her market. Our model was working. Today, just over 2 years later, Sita is now the sole wholesale distributor in Nepal of the largest solar lamp company in the world. She recently got a bank loan for $125,000, which she used to buy 18,000 solar lamps for Nepal. This is an incredible accomplishment for any entrepreneur, let alone a woman with no track record living in Nepal. I mean, of course, everything that could go wrong, it did go wrong at one point or another. We had shady partner problems, and lights fell off the back of the truck problems, and digestive problems. But you can't be a good entrepreneur if you don't love the roller coaster, and failure shows us where to go next. Today, our network of entrepreneurs have made over 10,000 solar sales, brightening the lives of over 30,000 people and displacing over 1,000 tons of carbon dioxide. The impact of even a modest deployment like this should not be underestimated. Runa used to spend 10% of her monthly income just for light. Last year, Runa attended one of our renewable energy awareness programs. Afterwards, she bought a solar lamp from Sita. Having the savings explained to her by a woman she trusts, and having sacrificed so much for lighting in the past, made the decision to purchase an easy one for Runa. Finally, she feels valued as a customer who's being marketed a product she really needs. Over the 5-year lifespan of her lamp, Runa will save over $100 in energy expenses. On top of these savings, she's created around 7,000 people hours of productivity that previously had been lost in the darkness. Just a little more light each night has changed the lives of Runa and her family forever. They all see a path out of poverty, and her 2 daughters are convinced that they'll finish their education and grow up to become businesswomen or medical professionals. Runa's family is just 4 out of the 30,000 that we've served. So, how are we getting so many lights in so many homes? First, we identify female community leaders. We give them training and financing so they can start their own company selling clean, safe power in their communities. These women are entrepreneurs who together make up the only last-mile clean energy service network in Nepal. They reach the most remote customers through village sales agents. Women and girls with little to no formal education who sell to their families, their friends, and their neighbors for a commission. Now, the one question we get all the time is, why only female entrepreneurs? We have a lot of men on our team, but our entrepreneurs are women because with equal accesses to resources and education, they are the strongest catalysts for change and the best business investment. Microfinance has already shown that women are more likely than men to pay back their loans and reinvest their returns in their families and their communities. When 10% more girls go to school, a country's GDP increases by 3%. When you invest in women, economies expand. Poverty cycles are broken. Our women-led distribution network has now grown to include 7 profitable solar companies, owned and operated by 9 female CEOs who together manage a network of over 50 administrators, technicians, and sales agents, including girls as young as 16. These girls had previously been the least valuable and most vulnerable members of their families. Now, they make their own income, make their own small choices, and see a brighter future for themselves. And Runa, who started as a customer, she's now one of those 9 solar CEOs. And in the first few months of her business, she's already sold over 170 lights. Our work may be just a tiny spark of light, but this revolution is growing. Today's energy entrepreneurs that are selling solar lamps and mobile chargers in their communities are planting the seeds for a bottom-up distributed power grid. Think of the famous leapfrog example from the developing world of choosing a mobile phone instead of waiting for a landline connection. Energy users in remote areas now have that same leapfrog opportunity to choose clean, distributed power instead of waiting for the electric grid to reach them. We're offering the energy poor a way up by putting power back into their hands so that they can climb the energy ladder one rung at a time, from one light to 3, and then a fan, and then a TV, and then the internet. But we'll save that for next year's talk. We still face hurdles: restrictive trade laws in Nepal, disrespect for women in business, but we're used to this roller coaster. We see the solar light at the end of the energy poverty tunnel, of our dreams shining brighter with every light we sell. Together, let's empower women to power the world. Thank you.